Hey Trailblazers and Tarmac Tacklers, welcome back to the Maximum Mileage Running Podcast. This is your one-stop shop for everything ultra, road and trail running.
And don't forget, we've got all your off-road adventures covered too.
And I'm your host, Nick Hancock, Head of Coaching here at Maximum Mileage, here to deliver pro advice, humour and inspiration for those of you tackling marathons and beyond.
And I'm Faye Johnson, your co-host. I am also a certified running coach, personal trainer and the resident mountain goat. Whether it's road running or ultra marathons, we've got the tips and tricks to get you through your training.
Exactly. Whether you are squeezing miles into a busy schedule or just dipping your toes into long distance running, we've got your back. So lace up, gear up and get ready for maximum mileage. Let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Maximum Mileage Running Podcast, where real runners share their real stories. And today, I've got a real runner who is quickly becoming ultra running royalty. We're going to be diving deep into Andy Berry's recent win at the Lakeland 100, which is one of the UK's toughest, most grueling ultra marathons out there. He's going to tell us all about it. So, Andy, welcome to the podcast. Delighted to have you on. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I mean, I'm blushing a bit now. That was some intro.
Well, you are. I mean, you are quickly becoming ultra running royalty. It's really interesting, sort of just reading through your bio and your history and what you've sort of done over the last few years, because you sort of, you were out there winning a few ultra marathons, sort of before 2021, and then you pretty much took a couple of years off the scene, didn't you, to concentrate on the Lakeland?
Yeah. So, well, post COVID, I love running in the hills, in the fells. That's where I feel most at home. And when I feel happy, that's when I run my best.
Mm.
And so, I stepped away from racing organized big trail races. I was still racing fell races in the Lake District. So, for people who don't know, they're really small, pay a $5,
nice,
go run up a hill and back and get a cup of tea at the end and shake everybody's hand who finishes around you. And, that's fell racing for you.
As pure as it gets.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I love that side of it. I'm never gonna be brilliant at short fell races. I'm just not built that way. I'm more built like a turbo diesel than a Ferrari, is like how I like to say it.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of that and concentrating on some of the other big rounds in the UK, fell running rounds. So I'd already done the Bob Graham in 2016, which is in the Lake District. So in May last year, what's that, 2022, I did the Paddy Buckley in North Wales. And then in September, I did the Ramsey Round up in Scotland. All just building towards the dream goal of hoping to get somewhere close to the level required to challenge the Lake District 24-hour record in May this year. So it was a 2-year plan from 2021 to see how close I could get.
And I think it's awesome that you approached the man who held the record before you to coach you for it.
Yeah, Kim's great. He's just such a nice guy, and I've said many a times the story of how it came to be. But ultimately, if you want to push your own limits, then who better to guide you to that goal than the person who's not only got the knowledge, the scientific side of it, all nailed down, but also the lived experience alongside it. That was really key for me. And he's been nothing but amazing. Can't sing his praises highly enough.
Yeah, for those listening, that's Kim Collison, who was Andy's coach, previous record holder, and yeah, absolutely right. Why not? The person who coaches me, I approached her because she was the record holder of a race I wanted to do, and Yeah, exactly for that reason. Why not approach the person who's got that experience? So let's talk a little bit more recent, because you have just won the Lakeland 100. So talk us a little bit about your preparation for that race with Kim. How's he gotten you ready for that, and what have been some of the key things that you've done?
So because it was 9 weeks between 24-hour record and Lakeland 100, so wow. We knew in that time period I'm not going to find any level of improvement really. The only thing you're hoping for in that time is to get really good recovery out the back of your first event. And, you're looking at your sleep, what you're eating, getting the legs moving, but responding to any pains, aches, tightness, and making sure that you're doing the requisite stretching and mobilization. So there's about 2 weeks of that. And then we had a short block of, say, I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks where we did a little bit of everything again. Okay. So since like September to May, we would do like 8-week blocks, and it would be 8 weeks, working short reps, working medium reps, longer reps, doing, trying the back end model from Norway, I think it's called, where you double up your threshold sessions, but you drop the intensity down. So instead of running at an 8, you're running at a 7, but you do 1 in the morning and 1 at night, just trying different stuff. So between the two events, we just did little bits of that. We'd do 1 week of each thing, just to, inject a little bit of speed back into the legs, inject a little bit of intensity into the sessions, a little bit of faster running, and all of those little bits we put back together. And then we did another 6, 7. Yeah. Then we did like a week or 2 of really specific for Lakeland training. So there you're looking at a lot of running, because Lakeland's got quite a lot of running in it. Yeah. And looking at those, okay, what's the biggest hills on Lakeland? How long are they going to take? Let's just practice those hills and get yourself ready for those. And then obviously a 2-week taper back down, because you want to be rested again. Mm-hmm. There's no point in going in tired. And then just see what you had, basically. Same as everybody else, stand on the start line. You have your goals, and you hope your day goes as well as it can, and see what happens. And luckily for me, I had a great day. But I don't see it any different to somebody who was chasing the cutoffs and nailed it, got in 40 hours. They nailed their day. I nailed my day. It's exactly the same level of achievement in my eyes.
Absolutely. And do you know what? I was looking at your Instagram earlier, and there was something I picked out from that. And I mentioned before that you're becoming a name that's getting up there with ultra running royalty, but I still love that people will comment on your Instagram posts, and you'll reply back to them and say things like, yes, I won, but you also did the race and you finished it, and that's a fucking amazing achievement too. So don't put me too much on the pedestal when you've done the same race as me and you finished it. I love that. I think that's amazing.
No, we're all just human beings. Like nobody needs to be put on a pedestal. I love running, and I see it exactly the same as anybody else who loves running. We're all in the same race. We're all challenged with the same things. Just I run a little bit faster than some of the field. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in many ways I see it as I get the easy end, really. I was lying in bed on the Saturday night, listening to the rain absolutely hammer the windows, and I was just like, they're still out there.
Yeah.
Those guys having a second night out there are still out there grinding, getting the job done. And I was just like, I'm the lucky one, really. I'm so lucky to be done and in bed.
You're absolutely right. I'm not at the level you're at, but I've won some ultramarathons before. I've finished high up the field, and for people listening, us people that might be a little bit quicker, that might win a race or finish a lot earlier. We don't go home and revel in our glory. We actually often lie there at night going, Jesus, there's still people out.
I went back down to Ambleside on the Saturday night and cheered a load of people through.
Yeah.
I went and picked up a couple of beers from the co-op, and I sat there just before the checkpoint in Ambleside about 9:30 at night and cheered everybody through, because I was just like, you know what, they deserve it, really.
Yeah, very cool. Well, as your career continues, Andy, I hope you continue to be that way. Because there are some people out there that you do, you say, congratulations. And a couple of years ago, you said congratulations to them when they won, their sort of their first big races, and now they're out there winning massive races and they're big names in the sport, and they just blank you. So keep that going, Andy. Keep that going.
Yeah,
be the people's champion.
The Rocky Balboa of ultra running.
Exactly. You touched on a point, so I've put on Instagram, for people to ask me some questions to ask you today, and I've got a few, and one of them you touched on just now, which is around your recovery, and it was something I wanted to ask you as well, because 9 weeks between doing the Lakeland 24-hour record, which for everybody listening means that it was 78 peaks.
78 peaks, which it was 94 miles with the best part of 13,000 meters of climbing.
Yeah.
But not on trail. A lot of it is just across mountain. So that was 23 hours, 23 minutes to take that.
Yeah. Why didn't you go for the 79th, just out of interest?
So we had a time cutoff of I needed to be there by 6:45, because if you're 24 hours and 1 minute, you're done. You don't get anything. So we had a time cutoff. I didn't get there until 7:15. I was around about 2 minutes down on Kim's time at that point, and there was no real indication at that moment that I was about to come back to life. And so we were just decided at that point to go for the time, because that's what made absolute sense. As it turned out, yes, I would have had enough time, but there was no way of knowing that. Absolutely no way of knowing it.
Okay.
It was the right decision.
Yeah,
I feel like there's unfinished business maybe to go back and
I was
try
going to say,
again.
would you go back and have another crack?
Absolutely. Like, I started thinking about what I would do differently the Monday I got back home and started looking at what I did and look at how we can improve it.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. It's ever evolving, the plan.
Yes. Well, I'll ask you about that in a bit. So anyway, my question was going to be around and some of the questions people have asked me were around, what did you do to recover, to get ready from, because that is 9 weeks basically between 200-mile mountain ultras, and that can be a time period that some people need to just recover, to start training again, let alone getting ready to run another race. So what are your focuses?
I've got a huge base now, so it's 2 years of religious strength and conditioning work, and on top of that, solid training. I think my average is around, it's not huge really, but I average around about 100k a week.
Yeah.
But that's including tapers and ups and downs, but across the board about 100k a week, and I've done that for 2 years. So I've got a huge base of fitness. This means that as long as I don't get injured, my recovery is normally fairly good. Mm-hmm. Also, my fueling for the 24-hour record went perfectly. I nailed 90 grams of carb an hour for the full thing. I had zero stomach issues. And so that obviously had a huge effect on how well I recovered coming out of it. And just being really relaxed about it all. I think that how you approach things mentally does play a huge part on how your body reacts. I don't see the brain and the body as two different things. They're very much intertwined. And if you tell yourself that you need a huge amount of recovery, your body's going to take that opportunity.
Yeah.
You also need to listen to your body, but as long as you've got a good awareness, but I don't mean this just after a race, like every day in your training, every day on your rest day, listening to your body, seeing what it tells you. When you're running and you're feeling the different parts of your, I've got a feeling in my left shin. Well, what is that? Register it.
Mm-hmm.
Take a mental note of it. And that allows me to know what is normal pain and what is abnormal pain. So that after something like a big event, I can go, okay, I know roughly by the Monday or the Tuesday if I'm injured. Say the event was on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So then I can just go out on the bike and spin the legs out, and I know if it's just muscle damage. Muscle damage is fine. That's just going to heal in a week or two. But I also know if my ankles are feeling weak, or then I need to not run for an extra week or so, because I understand that's what it feels like. Yeah. I understand a certain tightness in a certain part of my knee. I know exactly where that tightness is coming from. It's at a point in the top of my glute in my hip. So it's just understanding your body to a point that you can roll with it, really.
Yeah.
So
and really thinking about recovery as part of your training, right? I mean, I talk to my athletes about that all the time. Recovery is not something separate to your training; it's part of it.
It's a third of the equation. Stress plus rest equals growth. Yeah. But the rest is as important as the stress, because without it, I just read. I was just reading Twitter earlier. Steve Magnus has put on, anybody who's looking for a scientific, nugget of gold at the cutting edge of science, who doesn't sleep 7 to 9 hours a night, is missing out on the simplest thing that they can do.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that's exactly the kind of stuff I talk to my athletes about. It's the kind of stuff that I constantly spamming Instagram about. Is recovery isn't massage guns and cryo chambers and these weird leg things that pump up to squeeze your legs. It's getting enough sleep. It's eating right, and that means not just fueling, not just eating after you've done the race or the run or the session, but how you're fueling the race, how you're fueling the session. That's when recovery starts. During the race, before the race.
My big training days, I need 4,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
It's a lot of calories, but if I don't do that, then there's no point in doing the training.
No, exactly.
Because your body hasn't got anything to work with.
Yeah.
And it sounds really simple when you say it out loud, and I don't know if you're the same when you talk to your athletes. You say it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that totally makes sense." If I don't. It's like saying to a kid, build me something out of Lego and not giving him half the blocks.
Yeah.
I
mean, I use the car analogy all the time. In fact, so for everybody listening, me and Andy are both ambassadors for Talk Nutrition. And Talk have got this brilliant video of two fuel gauges. And that just explains fueling brilliantly to me. That I think it's like a 3-minute video of how we are fueling our runs. And if you're not giving your body enough, and that's just during the run, think about all the other things that we're doing as well, our training. If you're not giving the car enough fuel, how's it going to get from A to B? It's going to be getting halfway to B and trying to run on fumes, and our bodies are exactly the same.
Yeah, and I think the other huge one for me this year in particular, from Christmas onwards, I finally took the blinkers off when it comes to alcohol. Is, I didn't want it to be true, but the truth is that if somebody sold the benefits of not drinking in a bottle, it would be a multi-billion-dollar industry. And that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy a beer still. But for me, what that means is, when do I have that beer?
Yeah.
I don't have it after a hard workout, because it negates all of the hard workout. You might as well have not done the hard workout if you go and then have 2 or 3 pints afterwards.
Yeah.
Because it just interrupts your body's processes so much. So, I cut right back and I target when I have it. And that has made an astronomical difference. I genuinely believe it has.
Yeah, no, 100%. Another thing that you just mentioned, and it was a question that came in in fact, it was from one of my athletes around the mental side of things. So her question, Rachel, she asked, do you do any mental training and any tips when needing to dig in deep?
I'm a huge believer, as I've already said, that the brain and the body together are your biggest friends. You can get the two singing off the same hymn sheet, you're absolutely laughing. So for me, I like it. It's my mirror principle. Is I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
But if I can look in the mirror before a race and go, I did everything I could with the time that I had, with the finances that I had, with the commitments that I had to have in the rest of my life. If I did everything I had to be ready for that race, then I can hold my head up high with whatever the outcome is. Yeah. No fear of failure at all, because my partner's still going to love me. My son's still going to love me. I'm still going to have a roof over my head. I'm still going to be able to eat next week. Nothing's really gone wrong if you fail, like in a running race. It really hasn't.
No, and that's a lovely, lovely way to think of it, because I think we've all been there. I think I saw on your Instagram that you changed your mindset around the way you raced a few years ago, right? And I'm exactly the same. I used to get so het up with, I'm going to go and try and win this race. I want to break the course record. I'm going to do this and that. And then those times where it didn't come off, I would beat myself up so much. But then it's quite easy then to sort of reflect back on those moments and go, did it really matter? Did my wife love me less? Did my kids hate me?
They just want you to be happy. That's all they really want. Yeah. And so coming back from a race, even when things don't go well for me, I know they're going quite well at the minute, but when they don't go well, just come back and go, well, I gave it my best shot. I learned my lessons, and I'll get back to work as soon as I've recovered. And they're just like, yeah, do it, great. Yeah. So then and then after your race, I think you can look in the mirror again and go, no matter how it went, whether you smashed your goals or whether you had a terrible, terrible day, as long as you look in the mirror and go, I did my best. I didn't give up until somebody told me that I needed to give up. And my goals were out of sight, and I just chose to save my powder. As long as you can be honest with yourself, because the only person that matters when it comes to your running is you. Mm. Really, as long as you've got buy-in from the family in the first place. But the only person that truly matters to is you. So if you want a DNF and you really want a DNF, save yourself, because there's no shame in that. As long as you're happy with it,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I've got an episode already teed up, which I'm going to bring out in a couple of weeks, which I talk about DNFing and how actually it's really important to us, but it isn't really important to everybody else, and the whole world isn't going to come crashing around you because you DNF'd. In fact,
I DNF'd Lakeland 50 last year.
Well, and there you go, and then you've turned around and gone to the 100 and won it. Yeah. And I think DNFs are just a really good opportunity to learn, is the way I see it. Particularly in the ultramarathon world, we don't do ultramarathons because they're easy. We do them because they are really, really challenging. And in fact, I will come on to a question in a second. We're not supposed to finish every single ultramarathon that we ever do.
Why do people go longer? Why do people go harder? Why do people look for the race that says it's the biggest, baddest, meanest thing on the planet? It's because they're looking for the thing that they can't do. It's not because they're looking for the thing that they can do, but they want to go into it absolutely as well as they can. They want to succeed, but they're also looking for the thing that they can't do. I can't think of any other explanation why people would search out something that is just harder and harder and harder and harder. That's what I do, the biggest records that I can find, and then work as hard as I can until I can find one that is too big. And then if I'm really close to it, I might go away, learn my lessons, and then try again. If I get a little bit closer, try again, and try again.
Yeah.
And see how far you can take it.
And that brings me on to a good question. And there's a few people sent me this question. And it's a question I love to ask, particularly in the ultramarathon world. What is your why? Why do you do this?
I love moving through the mountains and challenging myself with that. And I took that and I combined it with how far can I take it? I literally don't know. But once you remove the fear of failure, then what's stopping you just aiming as big as you can? As long as it's reasonably realistic. Then, so for me, it's at the minute, it's very much about how far can I go? What can I do? I don't know. I don't think any of us truly know what we're capable of until we go out there and try it.
Yeah.
And just listening to that little voice in the back of your head, that little voice that says, oh, maybe you could. And then going, all right, well, maybe if I maybe could, how do I turn that into a can I? And how do I turn that into a I'm going to? And how do I turn that into a I'm gonna do it? And it's that journey. And I don't think that I'm a massive believer in letting that little voice out, give them the airtime, because too many people are trapped in the box of what they're expected to do, or what they think other people think they should do, or what's the hottest race out there, or whatever it is. But just listen to that little voice. That little voice is often right. That's what you want to do. And for me, I've got to want to do it.
Yeah.
If I don't want to do it, I'll find an excuse to not do the training. I'll find an excuse to, if I want to do it, there's no stopping us when it comes to training, and I'll do everything I can. I turned my ankle really quite badly in February. I did a really stupid thing and went and raced the week after I'd done a huge mountain day in Scotland, and quite badly sprained my ankle. So it just flipped it, went and made sure it wasn't broken, but then just got on the bike, got on the treadmill, got a clearance from a doctor that's, well, you can't re-hurt it unless you go over on it. All right, well, I can't go over it on a treadmill. So I actually treadmilled for a month. Everything. Long runs, short runs, easy runs, strides, you name it. I did it on a treadmill for a month just because that's what needed to be done.
You're a stronger minded man than I am, because I just can't do treadmills. In fact, just on the subject of treadmills, because just you were talking about, I heard about a session that you did as part of your build up to, I think it was the 24-hour record. And I'm guessing you probably did it at some point or something similar in the build up to Lakeland 100. And it was 3 by 45 minute threshold at 15 degrees on the...
Just below threshold. Just below
threshold. Okay.
So the idea is to find the line and sit just below it.
Okay.
But we didn't start at 45 minutes, and we didn't start with 3 reps. Two years ago, that was 3 lots of 10 minutes.
Okay, good. So this is the kind of thing that I wanted to ask you. This was actually a question that I'd prepared ahead of time, because this is the kind of thing that people will hear. You went on Tea and Trails.
I regretted it as soon as I said it. As soon as I came up afterwards and started getting questions about it, I was like, oh no, what have I
bet
done?
you have, haven't you? You've had loads of questions about this treadmill session, because it's the kind of thing that people who don't have a coach, for example, will hear, so Andy Berry did 3 by 45 minutes on the treadmill, or
I'll do that.
Or Killian Jornet did this super hyper specific session just before he won UTMB or whatever it is, and they'll go, I'll go and do that. I must need to do that. And that absolutely isn't the case, right? It's about getting yourself to the right place to be able to do that kind of session, which takes time. But would you agree that more than anything, it isn't about those super hyper specific one sessions? It's about all of the things that we are doing.
So it's never like, it's a little bit like those, the Men's Health. Do this one exercise 15 times a day. It'll take you 3 minutes and you'll have a 6-pack in 6 weeks. It's exactly the same mentality. No one session is going to suddenly make you win Lakeland 100.
Yeah. No
one session is going to enable you to do anything. It's the build up of months of work. So, I think that if you have never done 100 before, say you've done 50K, and you give yourself a year, you can complete a 100-mile race. Like, if you're willing to put in the time of a year's worth of work, that's, it's very achievable for you. One session is only part of that, and it has to be quite specific to where you are. And as I say, so we started teaching the body about, so we work with perceived exertion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very hyper aware of a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we also did lactate testing to find out the exact heart rate that it tips over. So when I'm doing those sessions, for me, I'm very, very aware of what level I'm working at.
I was going to say, you've got two really good indicators there of knowing your body, but also having that heart rate just to, you've got two opportunities
just to
go,
check.
How do I feel? What is my heart rate telling me? Right, cool. Am I in the right place? Yeah.
Yeah. And then learning that, as I say, starting small. So if you wanted to do it for people who don't have coaches, try it. But you're not looking at an all-out effort. So when you're doing it, start at 10 minutes. Maybe don't even put it on maximum incline, put it at 10%. And you're looking for that effort where you can still talk. This is vital. You can still talk. Yes, it's in very short sentences. Kim got me to use, I feel good, I feel great, I feel ready to communicate. If you can still say that, you're working at the right level. If you can't say that anymore, you're working too hard and you've gone too far over the other edge.
So I feel good, I feel great, I feel ready to communicate.
Yeah, if you can still say that, obviously you're panting in between.
Yeah,
but if you can still get that out, you're still working. You're working in the right zone. But any more than that, you've gone too hard, and you work in the wrong system, and you won't get the benefits.
Yeah. Let's talk about the race. So Lakeland 100, a marquee race for many people. I've entered the ballot twice and not got in. Because it is a ballot entry for most people. Did you? I'm guessing though, you got an elite invite, or did you get through on the ballot?
Yeah, I got an elite invite. I was lucky enough to be allowed to enter.
Yeah, that's cool.
Post ballot.
Cool. But yeah, marquee event, an amazing race. Well covered, well revered. So, tell us about the race. What was it like for you from sort of start to finish?
So the start was fast. I thought that I had an inkling that Jarlath and Ryan would go off hard. So I was very focused on not chasing them, let them go.
I was going to say, because you didn't lead from the start, right? You didn't go bombing out from the start. And I
had about 1 mile in the lead after about 45 miles. And other than that, I was sitting in third for a lot of it, fourth, third.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then second from Gatesgarth, which is 65 miles in, I think.
Yeah.
So it was good. The weather on the opening night was lovely. For the first half, we got a nice sunset and a little bit of a tailwind, and it was cool. So it was really easy to just stay hydrated, stay on top of everything, and that's all I was thinking about at the start. Again, so RPEs for me, exertion levels, making sure that I'm not going above a 7. It's a 100-mile race. You don't want to be getting anywhere near using your anaerobic zone. So if I stay at a 7 or below and I keep fueling, I'm very confident in my body's ability to keep giving me that level of exertion. That's what I expect of it, and it knows it, and it knows it can do it. So for me, that meant 2 gels an hour. I was completely self-reliant. I didn't touch checkpoint food really, and just concentrating at my bottles refilled. I started with, so you've already mentioned Talk Ambassador. So I've got the flavorless energy powder.
Okay.
So I started with 2 bottles of that. So that gave me for the first 2 hours my 90 grams of carb an hour, and then after that we're down to 60, all the way through to halfway through the race. but I was religious with that. Easy peasy. Every half an hour, another gel. Here you go. Here's a tip. So I've got 5 different flavors, and then before the race, I elastic banded one of each flavor together, so that I could move a pack of 5 to the front, and then I didn't get double flavored.
Ah, nice.
So I got one of each flavor, and then I get a new pack, and then I get one of each flavor and get a new pack. So there you go.
I've got a pair of shorts where I've got a pocket in the front, 2 pockets on the side, one on the back, and I'll put one of each of the 4 flavors that I like in each pocket. So I'll have all my apple crumbles in the right, lemon drizzle in the left, orange banana in the front, and I just rotate around them around the 4 pockets. Here's a question for you: favorite flavor?
Strawberry yogurt.
Oh, fair enough. Lemon drizzle for me. Lemon drizzle.
Yeah, those new cola ones are absolute rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So
I don't really like Coca-Cola outside of racing, and I always think, well, why would I want to take a Coca-Cola one in there? But when I did UTS at the checkpoints, I was absolutely necking Coca-Cola, which I don't normally do. So I need to try the Torque flavor. Anyway,
just save them for that special moment where you're really flagging, and then bang one of them, and it's like,
okay,
it's like somebody dropped a NOS in your petrol tank or something.
Well, I'll be on the phone to Dell later, getting my order in.
So then it was very much up until it going dark. Just sorting myself out, enjoying that first half of the race is my kind of territory. It's a little bit rougher underfoot.
Yeah,
it's a bit more fell like, and going up into Wasdale's just beautiful. I love that valley. And over the top of Wasdale, I was told at the top of the pass there was some people wild camping. He's like, "Oh, he's only gone past 5 minutes ago." I was like, "All right, cool." And I was like, "Oh, 5 minutes, that's cool." I was hoping to keep them within about 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that was grand. But by the time I hit the bottom of the hill, I'd already caught him. I move well downhill. That's one of the things I love, throw myself down a hill. So even when I'm conservative, I can kind of throw myself down a hill. So I caught Jarlath at the bottom of the Black Sail and managed to keep a hold of that all the way really for the next part, up to through a few checkpoints. Nothing much eventful really happened. Bit of rain and things, but it was fine. And then I caught Ryan Smith, who was the leader, just after Glencathra. He'd made a little navigational error and he was coming back, so we ran together for a little bit. And then he got a little bit fast for me, so I let him go again. My stomach was, that feeling when it just starts to roll a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like your stomach's kind of like just rolling. And I know at that point I'm running too fast. My stomach's about to tell me that you're running too fast.
Yeah.
So just ease it back off a little bit, and it just settles straight away. So again, just be aware of what your body's telling you before it's a problem. And then through the next section, so there's a 6 mile section of good track, and they call it the old coach road for obvious reasons. It used to be the old road for the coach and carts, and the lead must have changed hands about 4 times, and then all of a sudden, just Jarlath came coming past like a freight train. I was like, that is frighteningly fast. I was like, it was some of the most beautiful running I've ever seen. He was just gliding along, and I was saying like, wow, if he's still got that in the tank, I'm in bother. But let him go. It's fine. Just keep running your race. It'll be not a bother.
Do you think he might have done that as a bit of a mental tactic of, right, I'm going to make it look like I'm absolutely on fire here?
No, I think he knew that his main advantage over the rest of the field was that runnable, runnable sections, and he was going to make them count.
Fair enough.
And he did. Like, I didn't see him again until the last mile. He was gone. Yeah. And then Ryan Smith kind of just disappeared, and then Rob Forbes came up and ran for a bit, and then he disappeared off into in front of me. But I re-caught him at Dale Main at the main checkpoint, which is about 55, 60 miles in, I think. And this is another area of my running that I actually have thought about and worked on is checkpoint efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
on the Lakes 24-hour record, that's when you're running into your car and then you're getting resupplied and off you go. Obviously, on races like Lakeland, that's running into the checkpoint, getting your bottles filled, getting whatever food you do want, and then getting back out. So for a standard checkpoint, I was running in with my bottles pre-emptied. If I hadn't finished it, I would either drink it or empty it. And then lids off, just run in, get them filled, lids back on, straight back out. So I was in and out in probably under a minute on most of those.
Yeah.
Dale Main, where you have your drop bag, I'd organised my drop bag quite effectively. So I knew exactly what was where inside the drop bag. So the pack was off as I was running in. Old bottles out, new bottles in, because I'd pre-made some more Torque bottles ready. So they were already filled in the bag. So they were in the straight in. Big bag of gels that I had for the next section. That was went in the back of the bag, changed my t-shirt, and I was off 3 or 4 minutes. And you look back and two lads who were first and second took 10, 15 minutes in those checkpoints.
Yeah.
That's
the sort of thing I say to my runners is be really organised with your drop bags and your checkpoints, because particularly when you get into the latter stages of a race, the worst thing you can do at 80 miles, 60 miles, whatever it is into a race is be stood there thinking, right, where have I put this? What have I done with that? You want to be in, right, I know where that is, put that in, switch that over, fill that up, off I go.
Well, and the other way of looking at it is, how hard is it to run 1 minute a mile faster? It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
But if you're 5 minutes faster than somebody in checkpoint, that's 5 miles you've just run faster, a minute a mile faster.
That is a good way of putting it. Yeah.
It's eating time for no deficit. And, once my money's on Jarlath next year for late 100, if he goes back with what he's learned this year, he'll be unstoppable next year. I hope he does, because it'll be great to watch. I'm not racing it.
No, you've done that now. It's box ticked onto the next.
Yeah, for sure. And he might come back, and then I'm in trouble. Yeah. So then Ambleside came and went. So I had my partner and some friends and her family at Ambleside cheering us through. And as I say, I DNF'd Lakeland 50 last year at Ambleside. And I kind of ran in and kind of had a really sad face on, and kind of did a kind of, I'm done kind of hand gesture across my face, and she's took the mick religiously, all year, kind of oh, are you going to come back into Ambleside? Oh, I don't want to race anymore. So I was like, so for about 3 hours before Ambleside, I was like, I made this plan. I was like, right, that's it, revenge time. So I was practicing the face, practicing everything. So as I ran in and I looked at her, I just dropped my face, did exactly the same gesture, and I was just shook my head, and her face everybody's face just dropped. And I just ran up, jabbed her in the ribs, and went, I'm only messing with you, and ran off. And she was just you bastards.
That's hilarious. What a great, I think that's another, just a really great way of, making the experience a fun one. And, because, even though it's, 50 miles in, did you say?
Oh, no, that's, I think you're about 80, 85 miles in.
Right. Okay. So 85 miles in, to be able to do that, I think is that's just a great. I think I compare that, I think, to the Eliud Kipchoge smile. Where he makes himself smile when it's hurting. If you can go in and have a bit of fun like that at 80,
scientifically hurts less when you smile.
It does. This is true. Yeah. Awesome.
I also made sure I yee-haws through every. One thing I'd said to myself before the race, because it was Western themed, I was going to yee-haw in every single checkpoint. That was my goal, to go in and go, yeah, on the way in or the way out, and I nailed it. Every single one. Got a yee-haw. Yeah. So that was another way of just keeping it fun, keeping it lighthearted.
Yeah.
Keeping it a positive experience, even when it's feeling rough.
Yeah. So coming into the finish, what happened in the final few miles? Because it was a bit of a ding dong battle, right?
So from Tilberthwaite to Coniston is 3.5 miles over one last hill. It's Mark Laithwaite's final kick in the teeth, and but that for me that's home territory. Like climbing a hill, descending a hill. I know the descent. It's a little bit technical at the top. Even after 105 miles, that still makes me smile. A bit of technical descending, and so I thought that 10 minutes was achievable. If he had 10 minutes on me coming into Tilberthwaite, it was game on. I was told he had 18, so I was like, oh well, that's not achievable. 18 minutes and 3 miles isn't. I'm not gonna do that. But I didn't know where third place was, so I was like, right, just keep pushing yourself. It's your race. You've done this all day. Just keep doing what you're doing. So I set off out of Tilberthwaite with a rocket underneath me, and yeah. So then I found a random runner who I was like, oh, that's not Jarlath, but he's a runner, so he'll do. I'll chase him. So I chased this random guy up the hill just to keep myself moving. That bit quicker.
It's good to have a target, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he just disappeared in the end because obviously he was freshish, and I don't know what he'd been at. For all I know, he could have been out for 200 miles, But anyway, he looked freshish, and so that's what I did. And then as I came over the top of the last hill, he was Jarlath was there. He'd had an issue with his nutrition. I think he'd completely bonked and was talking to two hikers and getting some water off them. And I assumed he would give chase, so I didn't look back after seeing he was with two hikers. He was going to be safe no matter what, even if he'd hurt himself. Thankfully, he hadn't. And so I just absolutely took off down the hill with nothing over my shoulder for the first bit. Blooming dogs barking. So with no looking over my shoulder for the first bit down the technical stuff because I wanted to make my advantage on that ground count. Hit the road where I knew he was so strong and just did my utmost to empty the tank. Just kept saying to myself,
leave it all out.
This is why you do strides, trying to open my stride length out. This is why you do strides. When that ran out after a little bit, I did have a check over my shoulder. Didn't see him, didn't trust that he wasn't about to absolutely pull some 4-minute mile out of his back pocket or something. So I was then I was saying to myself, you want this more than him. You want this more than him. And just gritting my teeth and just absolutely hammering down the road. Yeah. I think it was my 167th kilometer was a 4:21. I think that's my I was pretty happy with that coming down that last hill.
Very nice.
And then came into Coniston and there was a big old crowd there because I think it had been a bit of a nervous dot watch for people. Nearly went the wrong way. Stuart had to jump in front of me and kind of go, it's around the corner that way. So nearly went wrong right at the last bit. And then round to the finish, and I kind of crossed the line. Didn't really completely understand where the finish line was, and then there was a guy there who was helping sort us out. And I was like, was that Jarlath? Like, I just needed confirmation of somebody else. Like, I was 85% sure that I'd just passed him, but I really wanted to be certain in case it was, I don't know, a safety marshal or something, or somebody else who might have had a tracker. He was like, you've won. And I was like, oh, that's all right then. That'll do. Brilliant.
How many people were around at the finish line when you crossed it?
Hard to tell, really. I don't know. Maybe I haven't actually seen a video that shows the crowd in where the pubs are in Coniston. So maybe 100 people there, and maybe 50, 100 people at the actual finish bit. Not loads.
Well, again, congratulations on your win. It's a huge one that's set you up for bigger things, not bigger things, but other big things, because I saw announced the other day that you're on the start line for the Arc of Attrition.
Yeah, they used that for a good bit of PR, didn't they?
Yeah. Of course it is. We've got the Lakeland 100 guy.
Jump on the train. Yeah, no, I've been in the Arcs and so entries open. Yeah, so.
Oh, fair enough. Right, okay.
Yeah. No, it's not a recent thing. I've been entered for that for months. Yeah, so that's in February, so I'll be good luck.
Yeah. How are you going to prepare differently for that, do you think? Because it's not flat by any means, but it's going to be very different to the lakes.
I'll be honest, I don't think it's not going to be like a primary goal race. It's
Okay.
going to be a race that I do, and I'll do the very, very best I can.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to target my training specifically for it. I'm going to target my training for other things in May, April, May time, and just do that as a kind of a B race with an awesome field. It's got an amazing field of runners there, and as I say, I'll do my very, very best. But no, I'm not going to do anything specific if I'm honest.
Okay.
Maybe go find some steps in the woods in Durham and go up and down the steps.
Yes, exactly. So I've got somebody who's running the arc of Attrition 100, and one of the first things I said to him is, "Have you got any steps near you?" Because you're going to need them. That last 5K is brutal with the steps. So yeah, definitely some steps to be a good one, or a stepper in the gym. So what is your big goal then? What is your next? What's next for Andy Berry?
Next, I'll be 100% clarity. Next year isn't decided. I know that whether I go back for that 79th top in May, whether I do something different, we're not 100% sure yet. We'll probably see how winter goes, and adapt it from there. Whether I can get some speed to challenge some of the shorter ones, or whether we've maxed out my speed. So, but yeah, I think after Lakeland, I think just I might go try do something in October, maybe a Paddy Buckley again.
Okay.
But I've only got one weekend free, so weather will massively play a part whether I decide to actually go for that. But I've had a great year. Like, I've had the time of my life this year. From the Tranters round, so I see them as three different things. So I did a round in Scotland in winter and managed to pull the time down a little bit for that in the end of January. So that was my adventure. That was like the best adventure day that I had. Then I had my dream goal at 2 years building to in May with the Lakes 24-hour record. And then I had just the greatest day on the trails that I've had in my running at Lakeland. So if I do nothing else this year than just go back to building up a big base ready for next year, maybe go and do just have a play in a winter round in December or something, but just me and some friends just having a laugh rather than anything serious, then I'm more than happy with how this year's turned out. I've got no obligation to anybody other than myself. And so if it doesn't feel right, I won't do it. If it does feel right, I'll do it.
Absolutely. And I think that's great to be able to do that, to be able to say, you know what, I've done the things I want to do. And to keep training interesting, to, like you say, just go and have a play in the mountains for a couple of weekends.
I'd definitely, I'd love to get an entry in Tour de Géants the back end of next year. Mm-hmm. That would be amazing. So going to see what I can do, get in the ballot and start emailing people, beg, steal and borrow a place. So Tour de Géants would be amazing back end of next year. But other than that, I haven't set my heart on anything in particular.
Any interest to go after the likes of Damien's records on the Pennine Barrier or anything like that? You talk about going longer, seeing how far you can push yourself. That's a pretty well-known one.
No, probably not the Pennine Way for now. I think that's it's not on my radar. I'm not saying never. I never say never.
Yeah.
I think my next goal that doesn't even have a date on it, that doesn't even exist yet, but is that little voice in the back of my head, would be all the Wainwrights. that little voice is that little voice is going, could you? Maybe? I don't know. So, but it's only at that stage. It isn't at the how or the oh yeah, let's do it, or the oh we're gonna do it. It's nowhere near that. It's just at the could you? So, but the Tour de Géants would definitely be a step towards that longer distance, sleep deprivation, working with that. So, and then it's funny. The spine race is always one of those ones that's like, no, I don't want to do it, but I always know that I'm gonna do it at some point.
Yeah.
so
niggling away at the back of your mind.
Yeah, it'll happen. Like, I was so inspired by them this year that's the closest I've ever come to signing up, which is why I then went the week after up to Scotland for my Tranters round, because I was just like, I need to do something. These people are doing all these amazing things, and I want to go do something amazing. So off I go. So yeah, but yeah, it's just all exciting. I just love running. I love being in the hills. I love the adventure. I love pushing myself. I don't see any reason why I would stop anytime soon. So we'll just kind of see.
And you've taken that love of running to helping other runners now. You are Andy Berry coaching.
Yeah. So I've got started my coaching, which is again is kind of built up alongside my own journey. I've been working towards starting that, and so I started that in April. I was always going to start it small, so I just started with like 2 athletes. Yeah. Now we're up to about 8. Yeah. 8 or 9. I've got a couple who haven't started yet, so it's like, do you count the ones who haven't started yet? They're coming, they're starting, but in September. But no, it's great. I love it. I love the diverse people that you get to meet, and their different reasons, their different life scenarios that you have to work around, and getting inspired. I just love hearing other people's journeys into ultra running, and then buying in. I want to buy into them so that they buy into me. Yeah, and make it work for them. I know what it's like when running doesn't quite fit in with life, and I don't want my coaching to be that for anybody else. I want it to work for them long term. That's when they'll see the benefits. If it works long term, the sky's the limit for them. And that's one thing I really like to impress upon them. No matter how long they work with me, if they only work with me for 6 months, sure, they're not going to see the immediate benefits, but if they take the lessons that I can try and teach them forward, then hopefully they will.
Yeah. And it's I people ask me, somebody asked me, why have you got, Andy Berry's, he's just won the Lakeland 100. Are you going to talk about his coaching? Because that'd be a bit weird, because you're a coach too. But I think good coaching is good. Good coaches are good for coaching in general. Because, through the pandemic, there were a lot of Instagram coaches popping up, and you're like, have you got any qualifications? Have you got actually any experience? And also, I'm a big believer that there's plenty of people who need coaches, that we don't all have to call over each other and argue about, who's working with who. So, I'm delighted to put another coach in the spotlight and say, Andy Berry, how do people get in contact with you? And, how does that work?
Absolutely. And I think that the qualifications and things are, that they're all just part of it. But we can do the same qualifications. So say the USCA qualification, and, we both get through that. That's, it's good. The resource of knowledge that they're always building there is invaluable. But how you coach and I coach can be very different. Like on a day-to-day level, they're going to have similarities. So I can learn from you and you can learn from me. And that's positive.
I think that's fantastic.
I don't see it as, coaches should be against each other in any way, shape or form, because otherwise, you might have, I don't know, you might have vast experience of working with a woman who's going through menopause. And I might have just got a woman who's going through menopause. Now, I can read all the literature, but you might go, all right, the literature says that, but I did this and it worked amazingly well. You might want to try it. So, that's just one example. But just little things like that of adapting the written word and go, has this happened? Yes. Oh, try this. Amazing. That's what we should be. We should be there to help each other, really.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I want to do with this podcast. Is as more, coaches come on board, come onto the shows to talk about coaching and how we can help each other, and actually show people that we are a good community of good people trying to do good things for a sport that ultimately we just love, and we love to help other people to do it. And it doesn't have to be that that whole. Oh, but he says that, and you say that. Well, yeah, that's right. We are both different coaches. We've both got probably different methodologies that we'll follow and philosophies. But does that make either of us wrong? Or all coaches are going to be different. I think that's fantastic that we can all put each other in the spotlight and work together. So
I see it very it's exactly the same as some of my backgrounds come from plumbing and things. You can give the same drawings to two different plumbers, both who are gas safe registered, fully qualified plumbers, and they'll plumb that house completely differently. It doesn't mean that the plumbing won't work.
Yeah, and that's what you do in your day job, right? You're a plumber.
So part time. So I've reached the point now, so I can split my time between my coaching and my plumbing. But yeah, so I do that as well. Keeps me fit.
Yeah, I say it all the time. It's very rare that you'll find a full time running coach. It's we're not going to be multimillionaires out of it. That's for sure.
No.
We do it for the love, a bit like nurses and doctors.
Yeah, and it's like you've got. It's part of the thing, isn't it? Like, so there's so many good running coaches out there, but as soon as somebody says they have some crazy number of athletes, you're like, alarm bells are ringing. Yeah. How are you giving each of those people the attention that they really need?
Yeah, no, 100%. Andy, it's been amazing having you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on. And if people want to find you, how can they get hold of you?
Best is Instagram at the minute. The website is still on my list of things that needs a lot of work. Oh, yes. There is only so many hours in the day.
Mate, I'm 3 years in and I'm still titting around with my website, so don't worry.
So Instagram's the best way. Andy _Berry or Andy Berry Coaching. But the links are on for both are on either. So
yeah, cool. So folks, if you want to get Andy as your coach, reach out to him. He's got some amazing experience in the ultra and particularly the mountain running world. I might even get in touch with you for some downhill tips, mate, because it's not my strong point. I'm good going uphill, but going downhill, I'm not. So thank you, Andy.
Trust your strength and conditioning. Trust your strength and conditioning.
Well, yeah, I know. I do need to trust it. I have a very good strength and conditioning coach. So,
and don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. There you go.
I think that's half the problem with people is they get scared of the sending it mentality going downhill.
Right, but thank you. No, it's been great fun.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks very much for coming on board, and I will see you on the Talk Facebook group. And thank you very much. Speak soon.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's another lap done on the Maximum Mileage Running podcast. Thank you for joining me and my athletes and my guests on this wild ride through the world of ultra, road and trail running. And remember, whether it's a mountain trail or the local road, every mile you conquer makes you stronger. Keep pushing, keep laughing, and of course, keep swearing when that hill just seems a little too steep. If you enjoyed today's journey, don't forget to subscribe and leave me a nice review. Your feedback does help me go that extra mile. Until next time, this is your host, Nick Hancock, reminding you to make every mile count. Run long, run strong, and run with maximum mileage. Catch you on the next run.